My girlfriend declared, "It's empowering." I smiled. "Then empower yourself to pay rent too." I split expenses, split plans, and watched the performances dim without sponsorship. Autonomy without accountability is just a costume. I prefer substance over subscriptions. My girlfriend, let's call her Brooke, 25, put down her phone over dinner in Austin and said, "I'm launching an OnlyFans. My body, my choice. You'll support me." I kept my fork moving, smiled, and said, "Of course." Inside, I slid a mental lever from building together to audit and exit. If support meant clapping while the house burned, I'd rather shut off the gas line and document the meter. We'd been together 3 years. She moved into my one-bed in Clarksville last spring to save for a down payment. I pay the mortgage, taxes, HOA. She Venmos me $450 for groceries and vibes whenever she remembers. It used to be cute. Then her new mentor, Tasha, an IG coach with a ring light religion and a slogan, "Independence on someone else's dime," started hosting Brooke at content brunches. Every brunch added a new expense and subtracted an ounce of respect for my 9 to 5 at the utility company. That dinner, I asked calm, procedural questions. What content? What gear? What's your posting schedule? Brooke glowed. She had terms, tiers, a color palette, and a launch grid. She heard compliance, I heard scope creep. I nodded, took a picture of the bill for my records, and added the timestamp, 7:42 p.m., to a fresh notes file, Brooke of receipts. On the walk home, she called it empowerment. I said it back to her, slowly, like reading a label, empowerment. If it's a business and her freedom, then responsibility is hers too. That isn't punishment. That's alignment. She wants to be her own boss. Bosses cover costs, sign contracts, carry insurance, pay taxes. Support can be a neat stack of boundaries. Back at the apartment, she FaceTimed Tasha from our couch, the leather one I restored with conditioner while watching playoff highlights, and did a victory lap. Tasha said, "Queen, monetize. Men should invest." Brooke looked at me and mouthed invest. I looked at the bookshelf I built from birch ply, looked at my Fluke multimeter on the counter from a weekend wiring job, and decided to invest in a paper trail. I started with the budget. I opened numbers and duplicated joint goals, down payment. New title, Brooke LLC direct costs. I listed ring light, softbox, backdrops, a refurbished DSLR she'd been eyeing, Canva Pro, social growth, an accountant. Each line had a category, vendor, and notes field. Then I added a second sheet, household split, empowerment edition, rent equivalents pegged to fair market, utilities itemized, HOA, cleaning every other week, Wi-Fi, parking. I highlighted her current contribution in mild yellow and the proposed in red. She floated over, kissed my neck, and asked if I could help with lighting choices. I said, "Absolutely, after we review a few updates." She skimmed, shrugged, and said, "Babe, that's so transactional." I said, "Businesses are." She exhaled hard, then texted Tasha. I kept my tone level. If we're moving from we to me Inc., we should separate personal and professional. That protects both of us. I was already pulling my Amex from Apple Wallet to revoke her authorized user status. Authorized user is not joint owner. I could end it with 3 taps. Brooke announced her first purchase, a Neewer kit, $3.89. I said, "Great. Put it on your card. Keep the receipt. You'll need it for taxes." She searched my face for judgment and found none, just a clipboard smile. She hit buy. I screenshotted the order page on her phone when she asked me to check the shipping address. Timestamp, 8:11 p.m. At 9:03, she drafted her launch caption on my laptop. I watched the cursor blink and pictured my mortgage autopay blinking under it. She wrote, "Owning my choices." I pictured my choices too. Change passwords, pull the spare key from the flower pot, box up my grandfather's tools, and photograph every serial number in the place, starting with the Leica my dad left me. Boundaries aren't bars. They're railings. She asked if I'd promote a little. I said, I don't mix work and home on my socials. She called it unsupportive. I pointed to the spreadsheet. I'm supporting structure. She rolled her eyes and called me old-fashioned. I let that land, then asked if she wanted an LLC or sole prop. She blinked. Which is hotter? The one that keeps the IRS from yanking you by the ankle, I said. She laughed, thought I was joking, and went back to Canva. By 10:12, I had changed the Wi-Fi password, removed our shared iPad from her Apple ID, and set up a new guest profile on the TV. Nothing sneaky. I told her, new passwords. I'll text you the guest one. I'm keeping my accounts private. She called me controlling. I said, you said your body, your choice. That means my accounts, my choice. She didn't like how that sounded when the symmetry pointed back. Before bed, I opened a new folder in iCloud. Exit, if needed. Lease copy, mortgage statement, serials, photos of everything I owned before she moved in. I placed the engagement ring, hadn't proposed yet, was saving, into my safe with the car title and passport. Empowerment but notarized. Empowerment but itemized. Empowerment and the bills will need a plan. I built a plan in 3 columns: money, reputations, rules, then put a date on it. 7:06 a.m., Monday. Pressure points were obvious. Her parents, Robert and Linda, church treasurers who still write checks at HEB. Her job, a family-first real estate shop called Whitaker and Homes, where Mr. Whitaker's smile covers 4 billboards between Mopac and I-35 with the slogan, Home, Heart, Honor. In Brooke's employee handbook, PDF she'd airdropped me months ago, I highlighted the morals clause. No online conduct that could reasonably harm the reputation of the company or our clients. Screenshot saved to the receipts folder with the file name W&H_morals_clause 14-08-22-25 PNG. Finances were cleaner than emotions. Our joint checking remains. Utilities autodraft and my mortgage only. No dinners, no Sephora, no launch brunch. I opened Amex at 7:22 and slid her authorized user limit to $40. Coffee passes, no shopping. Apple Pay ping confirmed. Category limit updated. I left the note field for her. Autonomy requires solvency. Rent split next month at market rate math. The place would be $1,700 if I rented it to a stranger. We'd been treating her as a guest. Guests don't move tripods into the dining room. At 12:03 p.m., I texted her a clean, businesslike message. Starting October 1st, household costs split 50/50ths. $8.50 rent equivalent plus 1/2 utilities plus cleaning. Keep receipts for your business. She heart reacted, then sent champagne emojis. Empowerment era, she wrote. I replied with the guest Wi-Fi password and a polite reminder that my personal cloud, cameras, and accounts were not to be used for content. I added, for your protection, too. By Wednesday, the apartment felt like a studio. Ring light by the fiddle leaf figure. Lingerie packages stacked under the bar stools. Calls with Tasha at odd hours about whales, subs, customs. She practiced a moan that sounded like a pulled hamstring. I put on noise-canceling headphones and finished a work order spreadsheet. Each new backdrop roll got a photo, SKU, and who paid. Her, blue. Me, green. Joint, gray. First crack arrived Friday at 4:19 p.m. Brooke's card failed at a boutique on South Congress. The clerk posted a boomerang with a caption about, try again, girl. Brooke pivoted to stories. A pair of legs, a shoebox, and the text, men are so scared of women's success face with tears of joy. I tapped and held, then let it go. At 4:26, she texted, did you do something to my card? I wrote, $40 limit. We discussed spending separation. Business versus household. She called it financially abusive. I replied with the Amex screen showing, authorized user is not equal to joint owner, and a timestamp. Saturday night, group hang at Gabe's place. Brooke wore the Neewer halo like a medal and called me a sponsor on sabbatical. Laughter, the kind that doesn't reach eyes. Tasha did her chorus bit. What's yours is mine in partnership, and asked how it felt to be held accountable by a queen. I sipped Topo Chico, said, "Feels like respecting written agreements." I pulled up the rent split spreadsheet for anyone curious. No one was, but the point wasn't the room. It was the record. Reputation's column needed quiet pressure, not torches. I didn't call Mr. Whitaker. I printed his clause and put it in a manila folder labeled Employment, Brooke. I didn't call Robert and Linda either. I archived Brooke's story in case it crossed into brand mention. When she filmed in my kitchen with the fridge magnets cropped out, I slid a neutral whiteboard there with a note. No company logos, no client documents in frame. She called me HR. I accepted the promotion. Rules column got posted on the fridge at 8:01 Sunday. Laminated like a chore chart. Joint account equals utilities plus mortgage only. No filming identifiable documents, neighbor doors, or license plates. No use of my equipment without a written borrow log. Yes, written. Noise after 10 p.m. equals headphones. Rent split effective October 1st, $850 plus half utilities. Late fee mirrors lease, $75 plus $10 per day. She took a photo of the rules and added a clown emoji. Then she went live from the bedroom and told 312 viewers she was finally investing in herself. Comments danced. I did laundry, folded my gym shirts into thirds, and emailed myself the clip with the subject line, "Bedroom equals workplace." At 9:47 p.m., she asked if I'd bump her limit back, just for tonight, launch outfit. I said, "Put it on your business card." She said, "It's maxed." I said, "Then it's not business ready." She called me heartless. I took a photo of the laminated rules, circled number 5, and texted it back. I didn't flinch, didn't argue. The firewall held. It got ugly the following Thursday. Brooke hit the ATM for $1,600 from our rainy day at 11:12 a.m. Then Apple paid a used Sony a6400 off Marketplace. Caption, "Investing in myself." Our emergency fund existed for tires, dental crowns, layoffs. I texted, "You moved $1,600. What for?" She replied, "Control is abuse. Budgets are cages. Petty." I screenshotted the withdrawal, the Marketplace receipt, and dropped both into a new folder. Consequences, Finances/2025-09-18. That night at Nico's, someone pulled a joke. During trivia, Gabe airplayed Brooke's Live to the Bar TV. On mute, looping, but the chat scrolled. Peach emojis, tip tallies, send menu. Brooke, playing coy, said on stream, "Some partners are zeros in bed and in income." Laughter. Then all eyes slid to me. I didn't blink. I photographed the TV, the timestamp, the trivia flyer in the corner, and saved it under Consequences/public. I left early, paid my own tab in cash, and wrote in notes, "Humiliation, third-party witnesses present." Friday morning, Brooke called me, an accountant with feelings, took the tripod into the bedroom, and rehearsed more banter. I vacuumed the living room, coiled my extension cords, and inventoried the safe. The Leica, the car title, the ring present. I checked the joint account, moved a buffer to my personal. I left $400 for utilities. I wasn't sabotaging. I was sealing compartments before water filled the hull. Her OnlyFans premiere was scheduled. Saturday, 8 p.m. She asked me to give her privacy, meaning, leave my own apartment. I said, "I'll be out from 7:45 to 9:30. I'll need the living room after." She smirked. "If I'm still working, you can wait." I didn't answer. At 6:02 p.m., I bought a prepaid Visa at CVS, registered a burner Gmail, and subscribed to her page from the parking lot of the library. I captured the profile bio, pricing tiers, $14.99 base, $59 VIP, the Texas Realtor by day winking face line, and a teaser shot with our dog, Scout, half visible on the duvet, his brindle ear unmistakable. I added dog in frame, identity risk to the file name. I queued 2 emails. Draft 1. To Robert and Linda. Subject, information you deserve. Brooke's online business. Body, Calm, factual, for screenshots, no adjectives. I wrote, "This is not an appeal for intervention. It's clarity. I will not discuss intimacy. I will discuss risk." Draft 2, to Mr. Whitaker. Subject, Employee Conduct, Brooke L. Compliance Review. I quoted page and line of his handbook. No online conduct, reasonably harm reputation. I included profile bio, rate card, the clip with my kitchen island recognizable by the veining, and Scout's ear. I underlined figuratively, no demands, just, I believe you'd want to be aware. At 7:37, I tidied the counters, hid the mail, and placed painter's tape over the Whitaker and Holmes magnet on the fridge. At 7:44, I set my phone on Do Not Disturb except for favorites. I told Brooke, "Good luck tonight." She said, "Finally, support." I put on sneakers, grabbed my keys, and left. I sat in the car under the live oak and watched the countdown clock on her page hit 30. Scout's nose fogged my passenger window. I cracked it, scratched behind his ear, and penned one more line in the Whitaker draft. "I am not your client. I am her cohabiting partner. I'm sending this to the same address on your website." At 8 hours, I pressed send on both emails. 15 minutes into her stream, my phone lit like a pinball machine. First Linda, then Robert, then a family group chat wake up. I let the first two ring out and answered Robert's video on the third try. He was in his recliner, face flushed, the camera pointed at his forehead. "Is this true?" he asked. I said, "I sent you screenshots. Please read before calling Brooke." Linda's voice came off screen. "Robert, get her off the internet now," and the call dropped. At 8:23, a new caller, Whitaker and Holmes. I stepped out of the car and answered. Mr. Whitaker's tone was cool, clipped. "Thank you for the materials," he said. "We are suspending Brooke pending a review Monday at 9 a.m. Do not contact us further." I said, "Understood." He hung up like a gavel. Inside, Brooke's stream continued. The chat scrolled, "Queen," and "Ignore the haters." I watched for another 30 seconds, long enough to see her lean left. Scout hopped onto the bed and nuzzled her elbow. I grabbed the last screenshot, labeled it Scout_exposure, and closed the tab. I stroked his head when I went back upstairs. "You didn't consent either, buddy," I whispered. At 8:41, Brooke texted, "Parents are being psycho. Did you snitch?" I replied, "I sent facts. You asked for independence. I'm honoring it with transparency." She typed for a long time. Then, "You're dead to me." I took a photo of that too. Boundaries aren't bars. They're records. And tonight the record was time-stamped, emailed, and acknowledged. I came home to an empty place and a note propped against the ring light. "You ruined my life." No period. Just a felt-tip ridge where the marker stalled. Scout paced between the bedroom and the door like he expected her to materialize if he tried enough times. I put his leash on, walked him around the block, and drafted a list called post-stream fire actions. First item, photograph the note. Second, lock the office drawer. Third, calm. Sunday night passed without Brooke. Monday at 7:11 a.m., Robert called. No thunder, just sand in the gears. "Is it true?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I sent what I had so you wouldn't be blindsided." He sighed the way men sigh when they've already loaded the car. "We're flying in to handle it," he said. "Please don't escalate." "I won't," I said. "I will document." He said nothing to that and hung up. At 9 a.m., Whitaker and Holmes made it official. An email from HR, flagrant policy breach and brand risk, followed by a digital form requiring her signature to return her tablet and files by Friday. I forwarded the message to my receipts folder and moved her nameplate, the brass one she'd brought home for selfies, into a shoebox with the marketing swag. I wasn't trophy hunting. I was clearing flammable material. By noon, Tasha stormed in behind Brooke like a parade float that lost the route. Sermon at full volume. Strong women, jealous losers, misogyny, Puritans. She filmed herself wagging a painted fingernail under my smoke detector as if she were christening a ship. I held up one palm. "One question," I said. "Will you house Brooke and pay her bills while she scales?" The gift face stopped. Tasha blinked. "My place is too small," she said. "And I inspire. I don't finance." Brooke looked at her shoes. I nodded once. Understood. Inspiration noted. At 3:16, a GoFundMe appeared. Help Brooke rebuild from abuse. Sick day photo, a filter-thin tear. The copy accused an abuser of getting her fired, emptying accounts, and throwing her onto the street. It rattled a tin cup and clanged my name in everything but spelling. Donations flowed in $10, $25, $100 rushes. Tasha boosted. "Let's carry a queen." Brooke's cousin commented. "He's always been controlling." I took screenshots, captured the campaign ID, and saved the donor list once an hour in case the edit started. At 5:02, Robert's attorney emailed me a letter on firm letterhead. Cease and desist from defamation, disparagement, and interference, or they'd sue. The attachment was longer than my patience and shorter than the truth. They wanted quiet while the cash rolled in on lies. I replied with a single sentence: "I will correct false statements with verifiable facts." Then I attached the HR notice and a still from Brooke's own bio tying her day job to her page. The silence that followed had weight. I didn't post on socials. I didn't subtweet. My move was clean and local. I wrote to Robert and Linda's small church, the public prayer chain where casseroles and job postings share space with unspoken. Subject: prayer for truth, employment, and wisdom. I included facts. The of screenshots, cropped, the GoFundMe copy, the Whitaker Clause language, links to the agency site. I wrote, "Please pray for clarity and kindness. Also, please know a fundraiser currently circulating contains statements that are not true." I hit send. It wasn't a smear. It was a light in a familiar room. At 6:18, the chain replied with 3 sentences and a verse. Minutes later, I heard Brooke's text tone ping 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 through the wall, where she'd left an old iPad signed into messages. Then the call started again through my phone. Linda, then Pastor Jim, then a deacon I'd helped rewire a ceiling fan last spring. The GoFundMe slowed to a drip. Tasha mounted a counterstrike on live at 7:04. "If you call her boss, you're an abuser." I left her to perform. A minute later, the campaign description edited out abuse and replaced it with unjust firing. I archived both versions and compared them line by line in preview, yellow highlighting the pivots. Brooke texted, "Why are you ruining my support?" I replied, "I'm not. I'm correcting your claims about me." Robert and Linda arrived Tuesday with soft luggage and harder faces. Linda hugged Scout first. Robert set a binder on my table, printed screenshots, bank statements, the HR email my work mirrored. "We'll take her to a hotel," he said. "We'll return the tablet." He rubbed his forehead. "We taught her that words matter." "They still do," I said. "That's all I'm asking." When they left with Brooke, the apartment went quiet. The ring light's reflection trembled in the window like a shivering moon. I wrote 2 words at the top of my yellow legal pad: "Next steps." Then I underlined them twice. Boundaries, documented. Lies answered. The fundraiser, now a record, not a threat. And the next knock at my door wouldn't be a sermon. In our corner of Austin, reputation is currency. You can buy grace with casseroles, lose it with a single screenshot. The prayer chain email didn't trend. It circulated quietly, inside pews and porch groups and HOA threads. It didn't call Brooke names. It attached facts. That was enough. Whitaker didn't call me again, but a line in their Monday memo, forwarded by a coworker, read, "Our values are not props." For their board, it validated the firing. For Robert and Linda's circle, it pressed a bruise under their perfect family image. People stopped hitting share on the GoFundMe. Then they stopped mentioning it at all. A week later, the fundraiser disappeared, scrubbed like a typo. No apology copy, no update, just a redirected link and a faint outline of where the donate button used to live. I archived the final snapshot anyway. Total raised, 47 donors, 2 deleted comments, Tasha's booster still cached by the platform. Then my phone rang with Robert's name. No bluster this time, only gravel. What do you want so this ends? My answer was simple. No lawyers. No online lies about me. Leave me alone. I added the last clause with the calm of a grocery list. Robert exhaled. It wasn't a sigh of relief. She's jobless, he said. She's living with us. Tasha won't pick up. We're looking at resale on the camera. You've won. I stared at Scout asleep on the rug, one paw twitching in a dream. It's not a win, I said. It's a boundary. Because autonomy without accountability is a costume, not character. I told him that gently. Choose any path you want, but don't turn your partner into a wallet and a fall guy. Don't turn the public into an ATM by inventing abuse where there were budgets, rules, and a fair refusal to bankroll a fantasy. Robert didn't argue. He asked if I'd take down the prayer chain email. I said it wasn't a post. It was a request for truth, and it had already done its work. Masks started dropping after that. A bridesmaid who'd laughed at sponsor on sabbatical DM'd a non-apology apology. We were just playing a bit. I replied with 2 sentences. I'm not asking you to pick sides. I am asking you not to perform me. Scene, no response. A junior agent from Whitaker, someone I'd helped change a tire, sent me a photo of the staff fridge with a Sharpie note. No branded materials on personal content. Corporate learned. I didn't gloat. I saved the image, labeled it Ripples. Brooke tried for a last pivot on her backup IG. Stepping back to heal from a smear campaign. Comments were not the cheering section she'd expected. One asked, "Why did the fundraiser vanish?" Another wrote, "Didn't you film with the dog?" She turned off replies, then stories, then the account itself. Tasha rebranded her sermon within 24 hours. Beware energy leeches who won't invest in your dreams. She posted an Amazon storefront of recommended ring lights. I asked my phone aloud to no one, "Will you house her and pay the bills?" Scout thumped his tail once as if to say, asked and answered. The practical cleanup continued. I drafted a short retraction template, not for public posting but for targeted corrections. On date, statements implying Gavin committed abuse were made. Those statements were false. We retract them. I sent it to Robert with a note. If Brooke wants a path back into rooms that value accuracy, this helps. He wrote back, I'll try. Hours later, he forwarded a version signed, Linda and Robert. Not Brooke. It wasn't perfect. It was pressure on the right side. I boxed Brooke's remaining things. Launch outfits, leftover backdrops, the DSLR in its padded sleeve, and set the boxes by the door with a printed inventory and a pickup window. No drama, no note. The spare key came back through Robert. Deactivated fob attached to a rubber Texas flag. I changed the deadbolt anyway and logged it like all the other changes. Date, time, receipt. When the ripples finally settled, I took Scout to the park at dusk. The sky over Zilker did that cheap magazine fade from peach to blue. A guy tossed a frisbee near us, and Scout pretended not to care before sprinting after it. On the walk back, I wrote a single line in my yellow pad. I did not make her choices. I made mine visible. Reputation whiplash hurts because it reveals how quickly people trade story for certainty, how fast a mask slides when the audience changes. But paperwork doesn't care about audiences. Screenshots don't feel shame. A budget isn't a betrayal. It's a boundary with a subtotal. I don't hate Brooke. I don't love what she did. I love the quiet after a hard no. The sound of a lock turning once, clean. 2 days later they come in a procession. Robert first with a dolly, Linda with a tote of bubble wrap, Brooke in sunglasses big enough to pretend the last month didn't happen. Scout watches from behind my knee, head cocked. I've pre-staged everything. 3 banker's boxes with printed inventories, the DSLR wrapped in its sleeve, the ring light padded with towels that aren't mine. I set the boxes by the door with a sign-out sheet. 1 page, 2 copies. I am not cruel. I am precise. Linda cries almost immediately. She's still your family, she says, folding a launch outfit like it's a christening gown. She isn't my wife, I answer gentle. Robert won't meet my eyes. He signs for the tablet, the fob, the spare key. then slides them into a gallon bag like evidence. Brooke hovers, scrolling a dead account as if it might flicker back on if she stares hard enough. When she looks at me, her mouth does the old shape of a grin and then quits halfway. Masks slip even when no one's filming. We work in silence. I tape a box. Robert lifts. Linda asks if she can take the whiteboard. It's mine, I say steady. I need it for bills. Brooke mutters. Bills, budgets, boundaries. Your holy trinity. I motion to the stack of printed statements. They kept the lights on, I say. They kept us honest. She rolls her eyes, but the words don't bounce anywhere. The rubber room is gone. On the stairs she throws it. A final lob without aim. Hope you're happy. I pause on the landing, one hand on the rail. You called it empowerment, I say. So empower yourself to cover rent too. You asked for support. I gave the real kind. Showed the full price of your choice. A neighbor's door opens and shuts. Life continuing within earshot. Brooke swallows whatever comeback she had cued and keeps walking. At the car, Robert loads the last box and closes the trunk like a lid on a season. Linda hugs me. Damp cheek. Whispered, pray for us. Brooke doesn't hug. She doesn't wave. She gets in, shuts the door, and stares straight ahead, sunglasses reflecting a small, tidy version of me I barely recognize. The Civic pulls away. The tail light winks at the stop sign, then turns out of our street. The quiet that follows is not triumph. It's an absence you can set a coffee cup on. Inside, the apartment looks larger by inches. The ring light circle is gone from the window. The bedroom is a rectangle again. I sit at the table, open my laptop, and drag the consequences folder to trash. Not because the record isn't true, because I already learned what I needed. I empty the trash, watch the progress bar run, and pour a 2-finger whiskey into the heavy bottom glass my grandfather left me. No toast, just the small sound of liquid choosing its level. I spend an hour on cleanup, remove Brooke from the power account, cancel the guest profile on the TV, update renter's insurance to single occupant, change the Wi-Fi again, turn off the motion notification on the bedroom camera. I email the HOA her forwarding address. I send Robert a PDF of the signed inventory. Then I open numbers and duplicate the spreadsheet again. New title, 1 salary, 1 life. Utilities, groceries, gym, savings. Nothing red, no yellow alerts. Just columns that add and end. At 8:12 p.m., the hour she used to go live, the apartment holds still. The fridge hums. Scout sighs into his paws. I realize I don't have to leave my own home to make room for a performance. I don't have to justify a password change. I don't have to argue that a budget isn't an insult. I can just live. The feeling is not euphoria. It's a clean page. I text Gabe that I won't be at trivia this week. I text my sister a photo of the empty corner where the tripod stood. She replies with a thumbs up and a sentence. Proud of the boundaries. I reply thanks and then nothing else. I turn my phone face down. I split expenses. I split plans. I cancel an impulse to check her accounts or her pages. I delete the burner email. I move the ring to the back of the safe without ceremony. The apartment breathes. The performances dim without sponsorship. I don't need subscriptions, I need substance. She got her choice. I kept my life. The ending isn't loud. It's honest. The lock turns once. Clean. Scout noses my palm, and we step onto the balcony to watch a late bus hiss through the intersection. For the first time in weeks, there's no countdown clock in the corner of my vision. Just a night, unmonetized, quiet enough to hear myself think. And in that quiet, finally, there's room to live.